Hi, today we will focus on the last of the three partitions of Poland, the Prussian one, and we will talk about its history, its vital records, and their characteristics. So, as we discussed in our previous video, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth has been partitioned in 1772, 1793, and 1795 by Russia, Austria, and the Kingdom of Prussia. So these blue territories would be the ones that were annexed by Prussia. However, Napoleonic Wars changed the local balance of power soon after, and eventually Prussia lost some of the territories it acquired in the partitions, but it still held to areas in Pomerania and Greater Poland, and Poland briefly regained these territories after the First World War, and after the Second World War it regained them again, this time also acquiring territories that did not belong to Poland since the Middle Ages, such as Western Pomerania and Silesia, and also the territory of Mazuria. These regions are not considered to be part of the Prussian partition, although due to their belonging to Prussia in the 19th century and their modern affiliation with Poland, they share similar characteristics when it comes to genealogy, and together with the Prussian partition can be simply considered as formerly German Poland as a whole. So, in the Prussian partition, religious registration of vital records started being used for civil registration in 1794. Prior to that, parish books were kept for religious purposes only. Now, parish priests were obliged to make copies of the books and transfer them to appropriate courts. So, Catholic and Lutheran parishes kept their own records, while Jewish registration from 1794 to 1812 was managed by town halls, from 1812 to 1847 by the police in towns and county authorities in rural areas, and from 1847 by regional courts. And these records were mostly written in German, although in some instances they could be written in Latin or Polish, and they were always kept in tabular form. This system lasted until 1874, when Prussia introduced civil registration. The country's territory was divided into districts of civil registration, which did not necessarily overlap with its administrative division. The division depended on the density of the population, so sometimes one civil registry office covered several communities, while a large municipality could have several such offices. The responsibility to register the records was given to the civil registrars, usually local mayors. And these new laws completely separated civil registration from the religious one that was conducted in parishes. They introduced the obligation to register births, marriages, and deaths of all the citizens, no matter their faith. Secular marriages were also implemented. After 1874, parishes still continued to keep their own books of vital records, although for their own use only, and religious vital records ceased to be recognized as official documents by the state authorities. Post 1874, civil records had three forms. Form A was for birth records, Form B for marriages, and C for death certificates. Therefore, if you do not read German and are not sure at what kind of record you are looking at, you can always check which letter will be noted in the upper corner. These records contain a lot of information in comparison to religious records from the Prussian partition, about which I will talk in a moment. And also to note, civil registry offices always kept their records in German, so no longer you can find a record in Latin or in Polish. So here we have an example of a civil marriage record issued in the year 1900. So let's click it to make it bigger, and as you can see in the upper corner we have letter B, which confirms that this is a marriage record, and this marriage record was issued by the Civil Registry Office in Pelplin. And in the first section we have information about the groom. So Arbeiter, worker, Stanislaus Lemke, of Catholic religion, geboren, born in April, here you have the daily date, born in Lipschen, Wochnaft, living in Lipinken, son of Johann Lemke and Marianna Olszewska, who were also living in Lipinken at the time. And in the second section, you have information about the bride. So again, Arbeiter, worker, Anna Dąbrowski, of Catholic religion, born in July. Daily date, here you have the year, in Nieuwhof, and also living in Nieuwhof, daughter of Franz Dąbrowski and Anna Masella, who were also living in Nieuwhof at that time. And on the second page, you have the information about the witnesses and their age. Now, let's compare that with a parish marriage record, and this is actually the same marriage record of the same couple, but this one was issued by the Roman Catholic parish in Garcin, to which the village Lipschen belonged. Now, in comparison to civil records or parish records from Russian or Austrian partitions, religious Prussian records were often quite vague. The precision of these records depended on the priest. Usually the birth record listed the date and place of baptism, name of the parents and witnesses, and for example the profession of the father was rarely provided. And marriage records also did not provide the names of the newlyweds' parents, which creates difficulties because you can never have a guarantee that the further records you search for example the birth records of the newlyweds, are for the people of your interest. There was no unified form in which the records were kept. They were always in tabular form, but different parishes could use different systems. So again, let's click it to make it bigger. And here we have a record for the exact same marriage, only it was issued by the parish instead of the civil registry office. So as you can see, there's quite less information than in the civil record. Here you have the date of the marriage, here you have the information about the groom, his name, his profession and where he was born, his age, information about the bride, where she was born, her age, and information about the witnesses. And that's it. So you do not have any information about the parents, their names, where they were from, their age, and so on. So as you can see, it is best to always research records from civil registry offices first, as they contain more information. Of course, due to the reasons I explained in this video, it will be possible only for records issued after 1874. Prior to this date, only parish records will be available, and also it might take some effort to access them, which I will explain further in another video concerning the Prussian partition. So this is it for today, and as always, if you have any questions or would be interested in our genealogy services, please contact us at genealogy@polishorigins.com or read more about our services at polishorigins.com/genealogy. Good luck with your research.